There's a new study going to take place, part of the National Institutes of Health. They're sponsoring the trial along with the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, being conducted by a clinical trials group. 2,000 adults will participate, and the study will check people with mild to moderate. It's going to study people with mild to moderate COVID-19 in the United States. A clinical trial evaluating the effectiveness of hydroxychloroquine. Boy, that's going to fire people up because, that's a Trump drug. We can forget that. Can't have Trump on board with that. Well, I guess that's good news. I know people personally who swear their life was saved by that particular drug, that anti-malaria drug. Look it up. Look up John McConnell. Google John McConnell, former ABC News executive, and read his story out of Florida. And John is not a big political animal. He's not exactly, going to be riding around with a Trump bumper sticker on his car. He doesn't engage in that kind of political conversation. But you look at John McConnell's story and what he says about his doctor after consultation with Dr. Oz, thanks to help from Sean Hannity, because Sean and I both worked for John McConnell when we were at ABC in New York together. Sean helped put Dr. Oz in touch with John's physician. And the next thing you know, John is getting hydroxychloroquine in his Z-Pack, and he said it was a godsend and a lifesaver, and he was a new man because of it. And he was ready to say goodbye. He was saying goodbye to his wife and kids. Trump, orange man bad. Orange man bad. What about remdesivir? Fauci likes remdesivir. Trump likes hydroxychloroquine. We know where we got to go, right? Man, what a time. What a time. What a time. Welcome into the Mike Gallagher Show. Friday, May the 15th. Let's take some calls because, this is a very dicey thing here we're dealing with. You got Lindsey Graham, who is supposedly lowering the hammer. He's going around on interviews saying we're going to lower the boom. We're going to go after the people who were responsible for the abuse of power that tried to damage an incoming presidency and interrupt the peaceful transition of power between one administration to the next. This was just days before Trump's inauguration. They had no national security interest in this. They wanted to damage Trump. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. And so the president has a big suggestion for Lindsey Graham. You're going to call people to testify? You got to go to the top. You got to go to the top. Well, Lindsey Graham is concerned about that. He has reservations about that. We've got to be careful because, it would not necessarily be good for the country, Lindsey Graham said. Steve, we'll start with you, 22 minutes before the hour. How you doing, Steve?
Hi, Mike. Glad to be
Hi.
on.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that I think it's time for Lindsey Graham to be voted out. I don't like the fact that he appears to be a snake waiting to strike and waiting for an opportune moment to show his true colors. I think his true colors are that he's part of the ongoing problem for the past decades, and I think this is an opportune moment for him to flex his muscles and influence the decision to not bring the ex-president in. Well, there seems to be no compunction about bringing President Trump in front of Congress.
Correct.
At the drop of a hat. And I think that Lindsey Graham's time has come for him to get voted out.
I appreciate it. All right, got it. Let's see what others have to say, Steve. I appreciate your input very much. 800-655-MIKE. He's not a snake. Lindsey Graham is not a snake. I've known him for a long time. Of course, he was very closely affiliated with John McCain for many years. It was like, they were joined at the hip, very close friends. Meghan McCain loves Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham loved the McCains, loved John McCain. When John McCain passed away, Lindsey Graham seemed to get sort of, a second wind, seemed to be a little bit more tenacious. But the bottom line here is, if Lindsey Graham is resisting any accountability for Barack Obama, what's the point? If you just get all the president's men, I don't know. I remember Watergate brought down a president, and I'm not sure what Lindsey Graham is worried about in holding Barack Obama accountable. I mean, honestly, unless you don't think Obama had anything to do with it. So days before the inauguration, we find out that Barack Obama's chief of staff is one of those on that list unmasking Michael Flynn. You think the president's chief of staff didn't have a conversation with the president about that? What do you think the likelihood is that the chief of staff was doing that at the direction of the president in order to keep the president one step removed? So sit him down and ask him. Sit him down and ask him. I mean, the headline, Graham finally drops the hammer. Graham said he's going to start in-depth hearings at the beginning of June dealing with Crossfire Hurricane, spying on Carter Page, spying on General Flynn, Obama administration abuses, but you don't want to question President Obama. Interesting. Greg, you're on the Mike Gallagher Show. How you doing, Greg?
Yes, good morning, Mike. Great show.
Thank you, sir.
Listen, I think that Lindsey Graham is being conservative because he's afraid of what may happen. Remember at one time a member of Antifa or someone like that said that if anything happened to Obama, there would be hell to pay. And that's what he's being careful of. Okay?
What do you mean happened to Obama? Obama having accountability?
Oh, no. Anything wrong that we do, I mean, anything that we do against Obama. Remember, I don't know if it was Antifa or Black Panthers that says, if anything happens to Obama, there will be hell to pay. And you know what that means, right?
No, I don't know what that means. I'm not following.
Well,
they
will stop, they will riots, exactly.
Yeah. So you think because the Black Panthers said if anything happens, I'm not aware of the story you're referring to. We don't want anything to happen to any elected official, past or present. But there were no riots when Richard Nixon was run out of office. There were no riots for any other major public figure, whether it's a senator or a governor or a vice president or a president. If Lindsey Graham is afraid of violent activists, two could play that game, and you start going into the what happens if there's accountability for Donald Trump. I mean, they're already claiming that the people protesting in Michigan are neo-Nazi, crazy armed militias. Gretchen Whitmer's hiding behind that canard. There's a column over at Red State that I thought fit this. Here's the problem for Lindsey Graham and the message he ought to be listening. It's time to go big or go home. Don't start the hearings unless you're willing to go all the way and commit to calling out the corruption wherever you find it, however high it goes. No more empty hearings where things are revealed, but then no one is ever held to account. The president has every reason to have lost patience given all the things that have been done to undermine him. There finally needs to be consequences. And it sounds like the Attorney General, Bill Barr, Acting DNI Rick Grinnell, and U.S. Attorney John Durham are serious about making it happen. Nick Arama writes over at Red State, no more talk, Lindsey Graham. Time for real action. Dan, you're next on the Mike Gallagher Show, ReliefFactor.com studios here. Hey, Dan.
Yes, Mike. Thank you for taking my call. I'm a first-time caller. This
Welcome.
whole topic of, thank you. You do a wonderful job. I love your show. This topic of Lindsey Graham not wanting to, or treading on trepidation of whether or not he should pursue bringing in anybody in the higher up, all it does is send a message that all animals are equal and some animals are more equal than others.
Yeah, I mean, he gets a pass because he was the president for 8 years. Dan, let's play this out. Let's just say that it seems very logical that if the chief of staff was requesting the unmasking of General Flynn and was involved in spying on the Trump campaign and the Trump administration, that Barack Obama knew about it. Well, Dan, why should Barack Obama get a pass? Because he was president?
Absolutely not. Everyone is responsible for their own actions and need to be held accountable.
That's the way I see it. I mean, I think Lindsey Graham sees it that way too. Again, Lindsey Graham is a good man. I understand. I never forget the Bill Bennett analogy of Lindsey Graham. You love your family dog. Once in a while, your family dog pees on the rug, and you gotta pop your dog with a little gentle pop on the nose with a wadded up piece of paper. Once in a while, Lindsey pees on the carpet. Sometimes Lindsey goes against the grain of, because frankly, and I've known him, he doesn't care. He does what he believes to be right. And if his reasoning is, and here's Graham's statement, he said he'd be willing to hear from both Trump and Obama, but he didn't think that would be necessarily good for the country. He says we've got the sitting president, Trump, accusing the former president, Obama, of being part of a treasonous conspiracy to undermine his presidency. Yeah, well, what do you think, Senator Graham? Do you think that's just a Trump wild-eyed accusation, or do you think there's merit to that? He says we have the former president suggesting the current president is destroying the rule of law by dismissing the Flynn case. He says, as to the Judiciary Committee, both presidents are welcome to come before the committee and share their concerns about each other. If nothing else, it would make for great television. However, I have great doubts about whether it would be wise for the country. I believe that full transparency and understanding the role that Barack Obama played would be wonderful for the country. I'm not real sure how Lindsey Graham doesn't see that as a great thing. Maybe I'm missing something. Let's continue to kick it off. 1-800-655-MIKE. If you can't get through on our busy talk lines, you can always text us on the MyPillow text line, which is 800-655-MIKE. You can also leave us a voicemail message if you can't get through on the call-in lines. To do it all, just call 800-655-MIKE. Take us with you wherever you go 24/7. Download our podcasts where you could pause, rewind, fast forward. We have 24/7 access. The YouTube channel is up and running where we kind of do our Mike TV every day. We broadcast the show, play the video clips for you live. You can find it all at mikeonline.com.